Hello everyone, and welcome to the channel. I'm Trix, and I tend to talk about stuff. Today I'm going to be talking about Aliennation, more specifically the media franchise that became spun out of the movie and the series. So I'm going to talk about the movie, the series, the comics, the TV movies, and a couple of novels as well. But first we're going to talk about what Aliennation was and when it started and who was involved. It's basically a starter video for the series, so if you're watching this first, great. If you want to watch the movie one, that'll be next, so stay tuned. Right, this is a science fiction media franchise that's basically a buddy cop drama developed by Ronak S. O'Bannon, who also did Farscape, Sequest DSV, and a few other bits and pieces. It's a story about a group of alien refugees who come and live on Earth and integrate with the human population. It deals with a lot of things such as racism, xenophobia, different cultures clashing, and so on. It was filmed in the 1986 and it eventually got released in 1987 on the 7th and 8th of October of that year. The movie. The series came a bit later, and while the series is better in my opinion, the film has some good qualities as well. The TV movies are a bit of a mixed bag. The comics are okay, and the novels themselves can be good in parts, but have problems that pulp novels tend to have, such as they use a lot of coincidences for stuff and things like that. The aliens themselves are an interesting design. They are not too alien as to be puppets, but they are alien enough to notice on first glance. But as you go along with the series, with the movie, they become less about the aliens themselves, their looks, and more about them as people, and that's an important part of the series as well, and the movie. The movie itself, I think, is perfectly fine as a standalone project, and even though it span off more, you can watch the movie as a separate thing, and that's good. The TV series as well can be watched without the movie, and I think it does somewhat better job as introducing the Tectones. That's the alien name for themselves. We humans call them the newcomers. The language is more lip smacky in the movie and more clicky in the series, and further on into those TV movies, which I'll get to another time. The TV movies I do kind of think of separately because there are some issues with them. It's not so much pacing issues or production values, it's that the characters seem to change and have hidden sides to them which were never displayed in the series, and it's just done for, well, shock effect, I think, in some episodes, especially the Udara Legacy, which was the last one. The aliens themselves are a genetically engineered slave race, the Tectones, and some of them are overseers, while also being another race that is never really explored or gone into in the series or in the movies is alluded to, this other alien race which is out there, but we don't know what they look like, we don't know who they are, we don't know what they're called. They're kind of off and on mentioned within this series, but not the movie. The movie itself doesn't have any overseers, who are the Tectones that are sort of like brainwashed into this like overseer cult, removing their feelings of goodness and hope and joy and basically becoming cruel overseer masters. The bad guy in the movie could be one, but it also doesn't say that he is or is not, and no clarification, I believe, has been made on that point. The franchise is set in the near future, basically in 91, from 88 or 87, depending on which source you use. Some sources say it's 87, some sources say it's 88 that it was released in. So I've got two versions of that release date, so it can be either. The series itself was adapted by Fox, and the movie itself was done by 20th Century Studios. Now is the Walt Disney Company, so any further projects of Aliennation are probably going to be Disney-led, and that's also a bit of a mixed bag in my opinion. Sometimes they can do great things, sometimes they don't. The reason I am covering this series itself is because I didn't see a lot of videos covering it. A lot of people will talk about the movie, a lot of people might talk about the series off and on again, but it never really gets enough coverage or broken down. I was a big fan of this in the 80s, and I was a child when I first watched the movie. 10 years too early, mind, and then I watched the series and I fell in love with the idea of it. It approached a lot of things such as like body identity and stuff like that, really, way before the modern day, and I think it did masses and masses of good doing that, to be honest, and it was really interesting to see. The novels themselves are done by Pocket Books and are written by Judith and Garfield Reeves Stevens, who wrote a load of Star Trek novels. Again, the novels are a bit okay in parts, but not okay in others. The comics themselves are by Malibu Comics from 90 to 92, and was done by Bill Spangler and James Tucker. They have done a few others called Public Enemy, and they also did Planet of the Apes comics as well. Other contributors to the series were Terry Pallot, Leonard Kirk, and stuff like that. The Tectonese themselves are stronger, faster, better than humans because they're genetically engineered to be. They can breathe methane where humans couldn't. They have this adaptation ability, but they have weaknesses as well. They cannot process cooked food, and they cannot handle hot salt water, which is like battery acid to them. Although in the series there is an individual who can handle salt water, the grandfather character, because he's some sort of weird mystic. They also allude to the Tectonese having some sort of latent telepathic powers, but it's never really expanded on or explained beyond this latent ability, which is a bit of a shame. They are emotional, they are very, very passionate individuals, the Tectonese themselves, and it really goes into that in some of the movies, and some of the TV movies rather, and some of the series itself. The Sykes character is different from the movie to the series. Although he starts gruff in the series, he's a lot calmer than James Caan's portrayal. Mandy Patinkin's Sam Sanfrisco, who Sykes, James Caan's character, calls George, is automatically called George in the series, therefore changing it in the media going forth. George in the series is a different character. He's less rigid, I think, than the George played by Mandy Patinkin. Mandy Patinkin is a method actor and probably did not want to come back for the series, and that's fine. You know, I do like Mandy Patinkin. He is a character actor, and he does put himself into every part, and you can see that he's putting himself to every part. We'll talk about the film a bit more in the next video, but I'm going to stop here, and that's really my intro to Aliennation. If it's made you want to go and seek out the series, or seek out the comics, or seek out the movie, please tell me in the comments. I also was in the Aliennation fan club back in the 88 to the early 00s, I think it was about 2003, it folded here. There was a guy who had a museum, of course, and I wasn't really able to go to the museum and view anything he had sold, or the exhibits, by the time I reached 18, so but maybe you were in it. If you're in it, say hello in the comments, that'll be nice. Thank you all for your time. I'm Trix, and bye bye.